WAE, that they've put emails together so we can all Zoom and not have to use our own personal ones. And then you have to go into the meeting itself. So it's kind of specific.
Fun.
Yeah, but hey, it seems to be working okay.
Yeah, you're up
Oh, good. Okay. Let's do share screen. This is only a half hour.
right before we left.
Mm-hmm.
I sent her the bill, everything, and she's just like, just sent me, how much do I owe? The teacher.
Oh. Make sure my clicker works. Perfect. All right, good. Okay. Thank you again, Angie, for your help.
You need to
Sorry,
go
I
to the
seemed a little
restroom, do you
frantic.
need it? Well,
You can just hang out in here. I'm just gonna go use the restroom
Yeah,
real
so
quick and come back.
you got 1 minute.
I think they're on
Nobody's
time
here.
for
They must
session.
be late.
Oh, here's Carol Travis texting me, and I don't know.
Is session over?
I don't know, I didn't go.
Oh, okay. Because I would think they would be here if session was over.
Well, I'll go use the restroom and kind of take a gear on that room and come back then.
Okay.
It's not like they can start without me, right?
That's right.
No, we can't. Nobody else knows anything.
No, you guys know a lot more than you think, honestly. You all do.
About floral.
I knew nothing.
Okay, so I'll be back. All right, thanks again.
Yeah.
No update.
No update? Now she's probably. Our cousin went into labor at 1 o'clock last night. Nice.
Yes, on her due date. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it was the heat.
I would not want to do that right now.
Well, is she still at home in labor or did she go in?
She went in.
Well, so then she'll be in, you know.
Oh, just pregnant in the winter.
Oh. Well, the last couple days, you're not gonna remember that was like that anyway. 'Cause you're so-
You're miserable regardless if it's.
But she's out in Sumas, which is like East County, so she's about as far as she can get away from the water, so
It was 110 there
we were
yesterday.
cooler here than
Oh,
she
yes.
was out there. I don't think she's got AC though, right?
It was 114 at home yesterday, and I just kept texting my daughter because some of our neighbors were having problems with their cows, and I'm like, Emily, how are the cows? Emily, they're fine. No, really. What's the
Oh.
temperature of the water? I mean, I did all, my daughter just graduated, she's 18, but she's just, she doesn't have a lot of common sense sometimes, so. Where are the dogs? Well, I brought one in. Where are the other 2 dogs? And how are they doing?
We should probably bring it in.
Yeah.
What kind of dogs do you guys have?
German Shepherd, English Setter, and a little rat terrier.
German Shepherds, I don't think like he very much do it.
No, she's a pup. She's just turned 2. So she's so pretty.
Well, at least a full coat hasn't grown in yet.
She's been shedding out a lot, so yeah. But the English Setter is 14, and so she had brought him in, and she said he was kind of panting, so I brought him in. I'm like, you shouldn't have got to panting. So,
Hard being not.
Where are you from?
Near Washington. Kind of next to Yale. In Raven.
Okay.
We're a small school district between Yale and Tenino.
It's a very large school district.
Well,
Yeah.
Tenino's pretty small.
Are they still?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we're a B2 school, but I think they're only a single one.
oh, okay.
But Yale is huge.
Yeah, Young's right.
And you guys are.
Oh, I'm Karina. I'm from Baker. I didn't get one.
Oh,
Thought I
that's right.
checked the little box when I signed up for her stuff. And I guess I must have missed it.
So you're at Baker.
I just needed to this year. Yeah, I'll be there next year as a sub.
I'm listening. I'm not looking. I don't know what's saying.
It's all right. I like being an only. I watch Yum with their 9, and I think, oh,
I feel like there's a
Mhm.
balance, but yeah, that's gotta be so hard to.
I like being by myself.
I do too.
I'm even pretty much by myself. Like, among the staff, the little island shop building, I got my wood shop teacher, and we just bounce back and forth, we hardly ever go into the main building.
At Sultan, I find myself out there. It's really nice because I didn't have to be like, hey, do you think is this a good idea? Like bounce ideas off of
Yeah.
somebody, but then at the
But
same
then at the
time,
same
that's
time-
really how I thrive for like decision making. So I was like, I would really like to be part of the team.
I know.
It was a double-edged sword. It's like, well, I get to do what I want. I don't have to make anybody mad. But
Yeah, but with big changes like being online and stuff like that, it would be nice to have,
that's
you
kind of
know,
what I
how does
really
this
miss.
work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially being first year. What am I doing?
Mhm.
It's either a dungeon or a castle, depending on the day. Sometimes I will like being all by myself out there. Nobody really knew the hack program very much before I got there. My favorite was when the vice principal offered to give me a tour. And I was like, hey, can we go into the metal shop? And he took me to the wood shop.
Okay, so who are the principals over there?
Ryan Malone is his name. Real nice guy.
Okay, and your superintendent?
Superintendent is Dan Chaplet. He's originally from Okanagan.
We had someone from Rainier go to Sultan, but I can't remember who it was, but they're probably not there anymore then.
I don't know. It seems like the district level, they stick around for a while and then they go for teachers. If they've got you for a couple of years as a teacher, it seems like they've pretty much got you your whole career, but like those first like year, couple of year turnover is really, really high for them. We get a bonus by March if you tell them that you're not coming back or something like that, like early so that they can start early making money. If you tell them
Wow.
you're not coming back.
Yikes.
I know. So I was
Sounds
like,
it's
wow,
a
that's
district issue, like the people who are staying longer are the reason that the younger teachers are not staying.
there was support at my building level. They didn't know it, like what I do or why I do what I do, but like they were like, it's good things are happening out there.
Sure,
Okay,
right.
go for it. But the district level, it didn't.
But there
They
was,
just- They hadn't seen a quality program in a long time. There was 2 ag teachers there that did, their FFA wasn't very large, but like what they were doing at the school, they at least had programming for that component. And after they retired, they just couldn't build good people. And so then just turnover after turnover after turnover. They barely get ag teachers out there. They mostly hire the industry, and industry people don't always understand.
They don't have
FFA
education.
unless they did it
Right.
when they were in school, right? So
and they don't have the education background of teaching either. They just
Oh.
have the, so the classroom management.
yeah, yep, that one was a hard one. There was holes all over the shop. One kid in my advanced plumbing class was like, yeah, I touched drywall all semester. That's what I did. I never loved it. Okay. So I ran all my advanced classes and we did classes. That made it a little easier. I only had 2 credits instead of 4.
Yeah, well, because they needed the skills.
They needed it. Well, I had my kid. He felt so bad. He broke a drill bit. I'm so sorry because I scared the crap out of him. You guys break it, you're fine. I don't have a budget for this. You're record your 2 shots. And yeah, 24 kids in the class. Yeah.
That's a budget. No, that's Sometimes I get two, but I run a floral shop and I run my greenhouses and we make money through those two avenues. So we have FFA money, SBA money that way, but budget wise,
And I
depends on
know
the year.
So for our individuals who are on here virtually, welcome to all of you. I will get started here as soon as we stop having people pour into the meeting room. It's going to be a little bit short and sweet today, just because we're a little bit short on time. And I'm supposed to be done by 10:15 for you to get to your next workshop. But I'm hoping that you get something from the workshop today. I'm going to make sure that I keep my video off, but you will hear me, I hope. And I'll try and sit close to the screen so that you can still hear me on virtual instead of walking around the room like I would normally do as a teacher. All right. So give me a minute to get everyone in, and then we will continue on. I'm going to block your view if I sit here like that. Okay. Okay, come on in, everyone. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm also making sure that everyone is in the, as many as people as I can virtually before I get started, so I don't have people waiting in the waiting room forever. Yeah, if you would, Carol, that would be amazing. You were so amazing yesterday. She is amazing now. It's awesome. So for those of you who don't know Carol Travis, our amazing person, she's going to monitor the chat and let me know what questions people have on virtual, so that if there's something that comes up, then you can make sure that if you're virtual, you can ask it in the chat and Carol will relay that information to us. And for everyone else in person, if you're asking a question, I ask that you speak as loud as you can so that they can hopefully hear you. And what Carol did last yesterday is she typed in the chat what the question was so that they all hear on here virtually what the question was too. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get started because no one's waiting in the waiting room at the moment. But I do want to make sure I'm sharing my screen with our virtual people as well. So give me just a second, you guys, to make sure it's all ready to go. Hold on. Sorry, I got to bring it back up to make sure everything goes the right way. It's been fun navigating virtual as well as in person last couple of days already. So, well, hey, got to take a positive attitude this way, right? That's right.
Is this, what is this? Curriculum plan? No.
This is FFA Quick Projects.
Oh.
Okay, so can my virtual people see that, I hope? Maybe a thumbs up on the screen. Okay, excellent. Okay, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tamara Whitcomb, and I teach at Mount Baker High School, which is obviously in this area of Washington State. Then even being here at Semiahmoo, I am 45 minutes drive from the hotel. So we're kind of a big county to come to. When it comes to our, sorry, Carol, I'll admit you real quick. When it comes to Floriculture CDE Practicums, obviously there is a lot of new people who are coming into our association and they're looking to get help and with some of these CDEs. And so we thought we would concentrate on some workshops that would offer you advice and support. With Floriculture CDEs, I'm going to concentrate on the practicums part specifically today. I'm going to take one portion of our contest and talk about it. There are 3 permanent practicums that we do every single year in floriculture. The first one is floral arrangement. Floral arrangement is one that we have the opportunity to create a design. The design is worth $25 at the state contest, and any local contests that we host throughout the state should offer all of these practicums for your students to build their skill level leading up to state. So they would offer these ones as well. With floral arrangement, some of the things that I would suggest that are really helpful is to order a few extra flowers to practice with students at a practice time. So when I have a floral arrangement that I'm planning for the week with my students, I'll order enough for 5 additional kids to create the design, and that way they can all practice at practice that week. And I just planned for it during my practice time to do that. I also want to encourage you to have students practice different styles of arrangement. When it comes to our state contest, you don't know what you're going to get until you get there. And so we never tell you in advance what the design is going to be, just that it's a $25 arrangement. So always having them practice with a small bud vase is not going to be helpful to them when usually it's a larger style, a round shaped design, triangle shaped design, horizontal shape design, or even a big vase arrangement like we had 2 years ago where they had to design with a dozen rows arrangement. So it's good to practice the larger styles because that's what they're going to have to account for. You also need to practice billing with them. Being able to price out a design is important. We never have to, when we do the practicum scenarios, you never have to add on additional delivery charge or anything like that. Whatever the prices are on the sheet, that's what they go off to price all their designs. There's already a markup on those materials that are on the scenario. And you guys will, when you get done with the workshop, I'll tell you where you can access some scenario examples. It's also important to remember that another permanent practicum is job interview. And obviously we have students who are really excited about employment skills. They do a really great job in interviewing in person. Pull those kids into the floral contest and have them do this practicum. You want to make sure you practice with students how to create a resume specifically, as well as to practice with other adults leading up to the state contest. For you as an ag teacher, it can be kind of intimidating for your students to work with you because you know specifically what you're looking for in them and you're probably their harshest critic. And another adult is going to see things that you don't see that are really positive and important to the kids to learn skill-wise. So I'll have staff work with students. When we had the virtual contest this year, I had the student who did job interview choose a staff member they wanted to interview with. And so that was really helpful to pull in those other adults. You also want to make sure you're practicing questions that are on the rubric, okay? Practicing all these crazy questions about floral is really not going to assist them with the state contest. The state contests require you to ask questions specifically on the state job interview rubric. So I know that employment skills, it's very different in the fact that there can be a big variety of questions, but we have a very limited amount of time for our practicum to come to fruition at state. And so they have a 5 to 7 minute interview window, basically, that they interview with the judge. So we try and keep with the practicum with regard to the judge's questions. So practice those ones with your students. And practice filling out the example application that's in the floriculture manual. Any updates from this week that we make to that manual that has the contest dates and things, all of the things I'm talking about are in that manual. All the rubrics, all of the practice problem solving, all these things are in that manual. So I would really encourage you to fill out the example application that's on there too, because that's what we use each year at state convention or a state contest. We haven't done an online job application because there's big variety out there and we're trying to keep it fairly simple and easy to do for our students. They do not fill out the application before going to the state contest, but they do have to fill it out before the interview. So it's important that as soon as they get to the state contest, they start filling out that job application so that they're ready to go in for the interview when their practicum time comes up. It's part of the rotation. And they need to bring a copy with them of the resume every single contest. So even if you're going to local contests, you're required to bring your own copy of your resume and make 2 for them. Make sure that they have an extra in case something gets spilled on it or they something happens and they have an extra copy, because they'll present that with their application to the judge when they walk into that room for their practicum. Question?
I'm sure this is on the guidelines, but I just really haven't looked at it. So do they also do like a cover letter, or do they just go with an application?
They just do a resume and application. And the reason why is because those are the only 2 parts that they're scored on the rubric related to handing in additional items to judge from. So they don't have to do a cover letter, just bring a copy of your resume and fill out the application when they get there. And when they go to the contest, the coordinator for that contest, wherever local or state, will have a printout of the application for them to fill out. It'll be part of their little packet that they get as a student when they go to the contest. Question back in the back.
I assume that a real resume is not one
It should be a real resume. Yes, it should not be one that's fabricated. They have to base it on their own skills. And in the manual, there is also an example resume for them to kind of fill out and go from to start with. These are young students and sometimes as low as 8th graders going all the way up to senior year. But it's amazing to me how many kids, doesn't matter what grade level, can really excel at this particular part of the CDE. Does that help answer a question so far? Okay, back.
Does the resume have to be a specific like format, or is it more open?
It's more open in floriculture. The example is there for you to use. However, if you want to add additional things into the resume, it's important to realize you should not go over 2 pages, first of all. And the things that are really important to include on a resume would obviously be skills, work experience, as well as FFA activities they're involved in, or additional things. Their contact information, of course, and references are pretty important to have on there. Wayne, question?
2 things. One of them I just thought of as we were talking about the resume. Are they going to get graded? Say if you want a real resume and a kid's on a contest, is their resume going to get graded higher if they've got more experience, or is it going to be graded on the basis of the resume? Number 2, where would we look for all of this, the manual and all the rubrics and all that stuff? Where would somebody be able to look for that if they're starting to coach a floral team?
If you're starting to coach a floral team, the Floriculture manual is available under the FFA Floriculture CDE on the website. It is different than the handbook. And the reason why is because we want the manual to be more loose each year that we can add to it and help coach up our contests. But it is something that we make sure we update. And as soon as I put the updates together as a contest coordinator, Jason puts it on the website and we're good to go. If you're talking about using the resume or references or things like that, as you were talking about reference.
Yeah, I'm just talking about, so say if I have a student who is on my floral team and they're graded interviews, they have very little experience. So I think, the temptation is going to be put things on the resume that look good. Okay, but let's say they don't have a lot of experience. So my question as an advisor is, are they going to get graded higher if they've got a resume that has more things on it, or is their resume going to be graded on the thing of, is it a good resume? Not questions of what's on it, but did they do the resume correctly? How do we grade that?
It's not based on whether or not they did it correctly. It's based on whether or not they have included skills on there that relate to the job experience they're applying for. So when it comes to the resume for the Floriculture CDE, it can be less specific because students are going to be different experience levels. So they can include things on there that would help them get the job in the Floriculture Practicum. And that job can be either working for a greenhouse, going specifically to a floral designer and interviewing for that. You don't know which job you're applying for until you get to the state contest. So it's good to make sure that you put a variety of things on the resume that can help them get any job in the floriculture industry. But again, you're not applying for anything outside the floriculture industry. So be specific about a floriculture job. That's what I would encourage you to do. Let me go ahead and get to my presentation and we'll answer questions along the way, you guys, but I only have about 12 minutes left. So I would love to get to the rest of it, okay? All right, growing procedures is the 3rd permanent practicum that we have every year. Now, something to know is that it could be one of 3 things, and you won't know, again, until you get to state. So it's good to practice all 3 types of growing procedures. One is potting young plants, which we all do every year in the greenhouse. We get a whole load of plants that come in. Save some back for your kids to practice with. Don't have your class do them all. Put it as part of your practice that week for them to actually practice potting young plants. And asexual propagation is where they're taking cuttings from plants, as well as pinching plants back. Now, we've also practiced that because we have to pinch back plants to make sure that they are mounding and growing well for our plant cells. So practice with them during that time when it was naturally part of the classroom experience for them to help practice pinching back plants. And keep in mind that if you look over the rubric for pinching plants, asexual propagation, or potting, there's also room for them to practice answering questions because they have to answer 2 questions related to that practicum and interact with the judge. So we usually ask questions that are specific for that type of growing procedures. For asexual propagation, it could be how many nodes did you include in your cutting to ensure the growth of the plant. It could be that they're asking you what rooting hormone you use for asexual propagation and why did you use that one. For potting young plants, why did you plant it at that depth in the soil? Why is it important to make sure you don't overwater your soil? Things like that. They're related to the specific practicum that the students are doing. So practice asking questions to the kids and how they should answer them specifically. And make sure you use the resources that are listed in the Floriculture manual to practice with students the skill of doing these things. So for instance, when we are judging asexual propagation, potting, or pinching, we use those resources and the ways that they instruct students or people to do those things to help pull from questions or judging or scoring the practicum. And the rubric is specific for each one of those. A potting propagation and pinching scorecards are different. So look at all 3 of them because you don't know, again, which one you're going to get. So practice with all of those. There's 2 rotating practicums as well. And I'm going to put a bunch on this screen and just start talking, you guys. So the first one is selling one-on-one. Carol, 5 minutes, thanks. Selling one-on-one is when you're trying to sell with another person. I have the students practicing selling with each other. It's actually kind of fun for them to interact with each other, to make up a scenario and then have to go through the steps. And they also have to fill out a customer order form so that they can practice writing things down that the customer orders. And when we get done, we kind of debrief. Okay, well, what are some things that you would work on next time? What are some things that you would encourage this person to do as the seller next time so that they get experience doing this? Media selling has a large variety of things that you can pull from. If you look in the manual, it tells you what types of selling, media selling there is. So practice each different type of format. It could be that they are posting for a social media site. It could be that they are creating a newspaper article. It could be that they are posting for something on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. So make sure that you're practicing different types of media selling so that they get experience in different types as well. And we also have the mixed planter combination. This is one that's going to be at state this year. So as part of our 2 rotating practicums, our state advisor, Denny Wallace, chooses 2 in addition to the 3 that we have every year that we're going to do. So they rotate each year. The mixed media or the mixed planter combination also need to practice billing with them. It has to be a $25 mixed planter, but practice with both indoor plants and outdoor plants. Think dish garden, you guys. When you're creating a mixed planter, that's probably what you probably have seen the most is indoor plants that are put into a dish garden planter together. But also it could be that they're working with bulb plants like in the spring when our contest is. So practice with those types of plants that are going to be more springtime plants, and also practice with other outdoor plants that might be made into a combination basket or something like that. So practice all different types of indoor and outdoor plant practicum with mixed planter. Another one that is going to be this year at state contest is make and package or corsage. And that is priced at $15. So they need to make sure that they are able to meet that billing. And when I say practice that pricing, a lot of students will choose flowers, but then they won't connect the fact that these are all worth money. And they have to get as close to that mark as they can without going over. So you don't want them to make a $10 corsage. You want them to make something that's going to be really close to $15. So that way they can use all their money, because that's what the customer is asking for, is an arrangement or a corsage that's worth that much money. The other thing that's important is to practice both gluing and taping methods, because again, you don't know what's going to happen until you get to state. So practice gluing a corsage to a wristlet, or one that's going to be taped that's going to be attached to the lapel, and they have to box it up or package it up, whether it be box or package, and then they would make the bill for it. With plant disorders, this particular practicum, the things I would encourage you to do is to have your students create a resource for themselves. With disorders, there is a list on the score sheet that actually tells you exactly which disorders there are. And so it could be a disease, could be insect, could be a pH level thing. But if you go onto the score sheet, it tells you what the resources, what particular ones they should practice. And practice filling out the score sheet itself. It is a little visually unappealing when it comes to trying to figure things out, because they have to determine 3 things about each one of the disorders. They have to determine whether it was an insect disease or disorder, what it was, and actually it's 4 things: how to combat it with chemicals, or how to naturally get rid of the issue. I'm hurrying, Margaret, I promise.
Oh, no problem.
Ignore me. And so we're also wanting to handle a hazardous situation. You can use it could be a hands-on scenario at state, or it could be a scenario based where they have to tell you what they would do and write it down, and practice them working with MSDS sheets or SDS sheets, material safety data sheets, because we all have to handle those anyway to make sure we know what chemicals are in a greenhouse and have that on hand for our maintenance people. But the students need to be able to access them and know what they look like and how to read them too. So practice with students on those. The things that in general, you guys, that I would kind of plan for is make sure you're incorporating practicing practicums once a month with your practices. And I can do it either at one practice where I have the kids do different practicums, or maybe twice that month, I'll have all the kids practice one practicum and all the other. And that way the kids know by the time we get to state which one they're more skilled in, and they're more likely to choose one that you've encouraged them to get better at than making it a fist fight to see who gets to do which cool practicum. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to make sure that students are truly enjoying the practicums. They love practicing practicums. That's the favorite part about the Floral CDE. But only one member can do each one. So if you have a team of 5, every team member has to do a different practicum at contests. Give them options to choose from, but definitely do that. And then also make sure that you're giving them feedback as you are going through and practicing with them. Score students yourself and give them feedback, and use the rubric as a guideline to help them improve. But also make sure that you use class time as a way to incorporate it into the CDE. So for me, obviously, all of our frameworks have to have a leadership component. Well, why wouldn't this naturally be a part of my floral design and advanced floral design curriculum to incorporate these practicums as ones that students should have skill in? So I practice with those students that are also in class, and also helps you to recruit those kids that might be naturally good at floral and get your CDE team started. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is to make sure you print out your practicum scenarios and score sheets from the manual, because that's what we should use at all local contests and state to go from. We don't make up our own. We pull from that manual to help us study with the students. And I review with them after a contest has happened and I've taken them to something, the very next practice. I review with them, okay, these are things I want you to work on next time. And these are things the judge said. So maybe if a student was resistant to changing, a different view or voice can actually help them make that change without you having to be combative with them about it. So at this point, what questions do you guys have? I know, I'm sorry, that was so darn quick.
There was just a comment that says Tamara does an amazing job organizing the manual. It's extremely helpful for all components of the contest. So if you have questions, go to the manual.
So for the 2 rotating practicums, it's going to be 2 of any of those 6 things that you would have up there.
Yes, and this year is the Make a Mixed Combo and Corsage. I encourage Denny to choose hands-on ones this year, especially since we've been out so much, and not choose ones that are more digital if we can get away with it, because we did that last year with the virtual. Yes. and it always goes in the manual. As long as I can get a hold of Denny before state conference, I always make sure I put it in the manual. Otherwise, it comes up there as soon as I can update it. Yes, everything that I've gone over today, including how to example practicums scenarios, are already in the Google Drive for all of you to check out. So if you go to the Floriculture Practicums on our conference website, this slideshow, as well as all practicum scenario examples, are in there already for you to access. So practice them with your students. These are past examples from state. Okay. Thank you. Bye, you guys.
Good job. Wow. That's so true. Wow.
I'll be in here again.